So you wonder why the country's a mess? You wonder why the government we have now is something you don't think is the government we ought to have? Against Christian values? The reason is because the church gave up its calling, took itself out of the culture, particularly education. Education went secular, trained all the children into secular type philosophies. They rose to the point where they became the leaders in our society, and now they're imposing that worldview on us. But we can change all that. Why? Because we believe in redemption. That's why we're here, right? Because we can do something about it. So your life is not a glorified monopoly game. I don't care what you do. You're working for God. All right. Also, politics affects our families and may turn them away from God. When we get a society that puts forth laws that are anti-God, that can actually teach our young people to go in that direction. I'm thinking of homosexuality, for example. I'm thinking of abortion, for example. The law is a great teacher, as we'll see here a little bit later. And it can cause people to stumble. Also, politics affects morality and justice. Slavery would have never been abolished if it wasn't for Christians. Do you think the atheists were going to abolish slavery? No, the Christians did. We have to be involved. Also, politics affects the most vulnerable in our society. They need us to get involved. If not you, who's going to do it? Who is going to save little babies like Samuel? Who is? Christians. Christians are going to do it. Certainly, there are atheists for life, but compared to Christians for life, Christians are the ones that have the motivation to try and save society and try and save young people from a fate of death. Also, the law is a great teacher. It helps change behavior and attitudes. I'll talk about this a little bit more a little bit later, but the main point here is that many people think whatever is legal is moral and whatever is illegal is immoral. Let me just give you one example. About 150 or so years ago, we went to war over slavery. I know, states' rights and all that, but slavery was a big part of it. Today, how many people do you know who think slavery is moral? Back then, the country was about evenly split. Do you know anyone today who thinks slavery is moral? What changed? Are we more religious now than we were in, say, 1860? No. So what changed? The law changed. The law has helped change people's attitudes about the issue of slavery. Now, maybe there were other factors, of course, but the law had a lot to do with it. Before, people could hide behind the law and say, well, it's legal, it must be moral. Today, you can't do that. You can't hide behind any law because there is no law which allows slavery in this country. So the law is important. The inverse is true as well with regard to abortion. All 50 states had restrictions on abortion in 1973. Then 7 unelected justices in black robes overturned the will of the people in all 50 states by one decision, Roe v. Wade. They wiped out all state law, judicial fiat. 7 justices determined what the law will be for the other, at that time, probably about 220 million people in the country. Just 7 people said, that's it. You know all those laws you have against abortion? Forget it. They're null and void. Now, today, where are we on the issue of abortion? Back then, we had a pretty good consensus. Where are we today? We're about evenly split. Why? What changed? The law changed. The law helped teach people that, well, if abortion's legal, it must be okay. And many people now buy into this idea that choice is more important than life. So the law helped change attitudes. So Christians need to be involved with regard to the law for that reason as well. Also, the law reveals sin, which reveals our need for a Savior. As Paul said, if it wasn't for the law, I never would have known that covetousness was a sin. The law helps teach us that we need a Savior because we can't live up to it. Finally, also our country wouldn't even exist unless our founders got involved in politics. And 51 out of the 55 were all church-going Christians who signed the Constitution or the Declaration of Independence. They were all Bible-believing Christians, at least the vast, vast majority. They all got involved in politics. You say, give unto Caesar what is Caesar's. First of all, that's taken out of context. But secondly, in our country, you can be Caesar. Did you know that? Yeah, you can be Caesar. Citizens become Caesar. Obviously, they're not kings, but you get the idea. So there are several reasons why we ought to be involved in politics. Not the least which being is that politics affects our ability to do what we're doing here right now.